The 1980s have always been described as a truly awesome decade for movies. Classics like Conan the Barbarian, Return of the Jedi, Predator, Aliens, Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Terminator. During that time period, there was just all kinds of cool stuff coming out. With that being said, Disney, believe it or not, was having trouble putting together quality movies that modern audiences wanted to see, and they were kind of getting beaten out by rival companies who were making great films of their own. It's for this reason that the company put together some darker movies in the decade that are kind of crazy when you compare them to everything else that they've done. And today's subject is kind of an important one. Dragonslayer is a 1981 fantasy film directed by Matthew Robbins. The movie tells the story of a sorcerer's apprentice who steps up to the challenge of killing Vermithrax pejorative, a bloodthirsty dragon that a pathetic king has been tossing maidens to as a sacrifice. Over the course of the movie, it becomes kind of clear that this isn't your run-of-the-mill Disney film, and while something like The Black Cauldron gets a lot of attention from their 80s lineup as well, Dragonslayer is from a whole other planet. Now, one of the reasons this movie is so memorable happens to be the fact that it was actually a huge stepping stone for the development of special effects. Phil Tippett, who we've already talked about with his work on Dragonheart, helped develop a new system of movement during this time period called Go Motion, which helped Vermithrax come to life in a way that people had never really seen before, making the dragon more lifelike by adding in a motion blur while the creature was moving. This technique was already in use by Tippett and Industrial Light and Magic back when they worked on the Tauntauns and AT-AT Walkers in Empire Strikes Back. But trust me, Dragonslayer is where you really get to see it shine. This technique was so good that before Dennis Muren sold Steven Spielberg on the total use of computer effects in the 90s, Phil Tippett was going to use this stuff to create the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, which would have made for an incredibly different movie, and really, I think we would be living in a vastly different timeline had that been the case. Now, as for the dragon itself, Vermithrax is not your typical movie beast. This isn't Sean Connery from Dragonheart at all, and is instead a pretty violent and mean-spirited monster that kills multiple people out of nowhere in the film. One of them even being Ian McDiarmid, by the way, who would later go on to play the Emperor in Return of the Jedi, which I thought was kind of funny. Vermithrax, of course, isn't the only dragon in this movie, since it's later revealed that her young are present in the cave, and man, did that scene mess me up as a kid. Similar to Predator 2 and Bram Stoker's Dracula, Dragonslayer was one of those movies I'd seen bits and pieces of back in the 90s, but didn't really know what it was from until a while later. And when I saw the little dragons eating the severed foot of the princess, well, that was kind of different for a Disney movie to say the least. And I know some people are going to be like, hey Clayton, it was also developed by Paramount. But yeah, you know, these two movie companies were together making Dragonslayer, but Disney's name is still on it, dude. This is a long time before Pirates of the Caribbean, and I don't remember seeing any princess with her foot getting bitten off by a dragon in that. The characters in this movie, by the way, are incredible. I really like Valerian and Galen especially. The actors have a great level of chemistry that I actually buy into a lot, since this whole film is set in much simpler times, and the moment Valerian gets to be the person they were really born to be out in the open is so sweet and entertaining that you just kind of have to appreciate the wholesomeness of it all. Galen is kind of your stereotypical sorcerer's apprentice, but he commits to the role, and he has a lot of really memorable scenes in the film. Dragonslayer isn't all character development and endearing scenes though, since much of what makes it memorable happens to be those incredibly influential special effects, and the way they go about fighting and slaying the dragon are awesome, to put it lightly. When it comes to these kinds of movies, we seem to get a lot of films that are just kind of your typical happy-go-lucky adventure stories with a good guy dragon waiting to help someone on a great journey. Dragonslayer ain't that kind of movie, and the darkness applied to its narrative alongside the fun cast and the innovative special effects really set this one apart from the pack. It unfortunately wasn't much of a hit when it first came out, but it's gone on to be called one of the greatest dragon movies ever made. The film was nominated for an Academy Award for its music, but ended up losing to Chariots of Fire, as well as some other awards that it lost to Raiders of the Lost Ark. But still, Dragonslayer has gone on to carve both a name and legacy of its own that I personally think is extremely cool. I know there are a lot of people that grew up with this one, and it's not exactly one of the most obscure or unique films, but not too many people really bring it up in modern conversations, and I just want to throw this out there because I think it is really cool and important. Without Dragonslayer, we would never have got Dragonheart, maybe not even Jurassic Park, and certainly not some of the other Star Wars films. When you have any movie like this that advances visual or special effects in such a grand way, and I know stop motion had been used before, but this was next level stuff. If you don't get movies like that, you don't get great stuff that comes in the future. But hey, those are all just my own opinions on this movie. What do all of you guys think about the film and Vermithrax's design in general? A lot of people describe it as being one of the greatest creature designs for dragons in any movie ever made, but is this a dragon movie that you think will always be remembered? And have you even seen it yet? I hope so, but hey, whatever your own thoughts and opinions on the film happen to be, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below.